Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. It is always my great pleasure to present something genuinely different, and right about now, if you're not familiar with this model, you're probably wondering, what exactly am I looking at? Well, you're looking at a deadbeat seconds hand that is coaxial with a chronograph sweep seconds hand on a model launched in 2014. This is the Arnold Son CTB Chronograph True Beat. So the sweeping hand is for chronograph seconds. The jumping hand is running seconds. You've got chronograph minutes up to 60 down at 6 o'clock, and then a conventional dial with hours and minutes up top. Arnold Son out of La Chaux-de-Fonds is a brand owned by the manufacturer lug-to-lug. They make their own movements, and they in turn are owned by Citizen Watch of Japan, which is the ultimate sugar daddy, providing money for blue sky thinking, elaborate engineering programs, parts, service, and stability that a small brand needs. And Arnold Son only makes about 1,000 watches a year, so it qualifies as a small brand. This model is 44 millimeters in diameter in stainless steel. It's 15.1 millimeters thick, which is actually less than it appears, and then 48.8 lug-to-lug with a 22 millimeter spacing in between the lugs. With throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and yeah, it actually does fit. You can see down the barrel, as I like to say, the lugs are not over the edge of my wrist. From over the top, they're out to the edge, but this is the angle that exaggerates the size of the watch. This is going to be your true angle always. When you're trying to fit a watch to your own wrist and you don't have the benefit of a mirror, look like that. Now, the watch does have a little bit of a bowl-like shape to it, so the bezel flares out broader than the case. It will get caught up on tight dress cuffs, but a jacket should be just fine. And you can see this watch is probably fine for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference as long as it's very flat across the top. Mine is 16 and very, very flat. The strap is high grade, really nice stuff. Black calfskin lining on the bottom. You can see no crimping, no gouging. Arnold Son factory strap. We have a folded edge, a little bit of bolstering or stuffing to give it volume. A monotone stitch, black. We have large rectangular symmetrical scale alligator leather, a very good cut of the animal, always an expensive slice. Large rectangular symmetrical scales. You can see to improve the fit on small wrists, the lugs are drilled relatively close to the case to move those pivot centers inboard, and so to prevent any impediment to the motion of the strap, a curved spring bar is used. Arnold Son has its own little polished and media blasted buckle that echoes the design of its own lugs. Take a look at how sharply broken out those lugs are from the case. That's really impressive case making right there, with the lugs likely welded into place and then filed to create that super sharp break. It is profoundly impressive case making work. And we're not just talking about one sharp plane. You can see how the lugs actually have a fluted profile down the center. And so you have that sharp plane on either side of it. It's very impressive stuff. Really good looking, and the lugs have a wonderful complexity about their curvature. You can see how there's a bevel, and then above that there's even a smaller bevel. The case itself has a little step midway down its bowl-like profile and a conical bezel. We've got pump-style chronograph pushers. Once again, the Arnold Son logo, combination of media blast and polish, designed to remind you of the great British watchmaker John Arnold and his sons. Though to be perfectly fair, Arnold Son, the brand as it exists today, is an offshoot of several brands started by the British masters in Switzerland during the 90s that included Graham, Tompion, and Arnold Son, and Arnold Son eventually wound up in the hands of La Chaux-de-Fonds. So that's how we get to here. Now, the watch is beautifully made in every regard. It is horlogerie, and the watch features a dial with no fewer than 3 distinct finishes, giving it an upscale, complex aesthetic. It's also beautifully balanced, as you can split it bilaterally and it's symmetrical from side to side. You can see there's also a little bit of a dished profile from the outer chaptering down to the centers, with elevated and brushed chapterings for the individual subdials. We have blued hands for all functions. I always love a chronograph that has a 60-minute display. I find that more convenient than a 30. You don't have to guess as much if you forget where you were. Now, of course, we've got the chronograph function distinct from the running seconds. Running seconds are in deadbeat form, and you can see that they line up perfectly. The watch does also feature a hacking or stop seconds function. The combination of a column wheel, which you can see on the reverse, and an oscillating pinion lateral clutch means that the feel is very crisp. It's not super hard. By the way, that's just a little bit of packing plastic back there. But it's not super hard. It doesn't have that huge initial resistance that you find on, say, a Breitling B01, but it's got the same quality of column wheel action. Now, about the oscillating pinion. La-Joux-Perret, which owns Arnold Son, got its start as a manufacturer by modifying Valjoux architectures. As a result, there are some underlying Valjoux elements here. If you look very carefully, you could see that the oscillating pinion clutch, wire clutch spring, and eccentric screw regulator of the 7750 here are present and correct. Now, this system is fascinating because an oscillating pinion is a type of lateral clutch that is so seamless it could easily be mistaken for a vertical clutch. So watch the seconds hand here. Watch as I start up the chronograph. See that? No jump, no stagger. It's odd to think that every 7750-based chronograph architecture has that feature because it's something that's now considered upscale and being revived by de Bethune, Richard Mille, F.P. Journe. But yeah, we've got a column wheel and an oscillating pinion lateral clutch here. Stop seconds, 4 Hz beat rate, 31 pivot-joules, high horology style 5-position adjustment, a 4 Hz beat rate, and a 50-hour power reserve, nickel anthracite coating over all the bridges and plates. The finish is autologerie, and you will be very impressed in a moment. You can see 3 ATM, 30 meters, standard dress watch water resistance. Now, I promised you'd be impressed. Look at the size and the mirrored finish of these giant bevels that Arnold & Son employs. We have Côte de Soleil, or sunburst, stripes radiating out from underneath the rotor. It's a unidirectional winder with ceramic bearings for high efficiency. You can see engine turning on the substructures, including the lower bridges and the base plate. All screw heads are mirror finished, and exquisitely so, with satination on the wheels. You can also see that the various springs of the system have been satinated, quite handsomely decorated. In the case of spring right here, you can see that it's mounted on 2 polished locating pins. So the locating pins on the substructure have been polished, and beautifully so. This is a fantastic feat of decoration that I would say surpasses the standard that you get on an average JLC, Journe, or AP. And from a brand a lot of people don't know, often available for very attractive prices on secondary markets, and one of the most beguiling and unusual chronographs you will ever encounter in your life. So reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916 Company.com for purchase and pricing details.